meditation too.
Yeah.
And I was meditating, and right after I finished meditating, the Alpha One and a new video popped up. I clicked on it in the first 5 minutes. He said he wanted to teach the significance of the number five, and he was channeling a high level archangel,
Oh wow.
and that was the first thing he said. And I asked her for a sign.
It already got it.
And then right after that, he said it. He said something else again that was related to her, and I was just like,
Okay, so
okay.
it's showing out.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
So I want to make sure that I'm decent and in order the way that I'm approaching things.
Right. Yeah. That's right.
Peace. Woman's loving life.
What's up, woman? It's loving life.
Moderator. Moderator.
Hathor.
Peace, Hathor. Yes. Come on in here. Come on.
Peace, y'all. Peace.
Come on.
Hope it all is well with y'all.
Yes. Peace. Who is that?
Y'all cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're good. How are you, sis? Like Oshun been blessing us with her energy, so we hope that we are radiating that energy back to y'all.
Yeah.
Like y'all are here with us, you know what I'm saying? It's that kind of energy going on.
Yep.
Yeah.
Just
Okay.
doing the work.
Ashe. That's right. That's what it's about. Peace, Amani.
Yeah.
Yes. Come on in here.
Peace.
That's what it's all about. It's about doing the work, you know, and trusting the process and learning how to relax and trust your work.
Oh,
Because if
thank
you're
you.
doing the work, then you can relax a little bit more when things happen because you're like, you know what, my ancestors been fed well.
Mhm.
So, you know, you want to pay it forward.
Mhm. Thank you for that compliment.
Absolutely.
Woman's loving life. Yeah.
Ashe.
Yep.
Thank you, Amethyst
Thank
Goddess.
you. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
So, I don't know how many people are here.
Yo, man.
I guess we can start easing on, easing on into the topics.
Yeah.
Peace to y'all. We hope that you all are having a great weekend, and we are here to, you know, share the energy that has been shared with us. We're gonna get it in. We're getting into some heavy topics that we've been needing to get into, and we just been waiting for the right time to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So, what we're gonna do, I'm gonna go ahead and start off with the people who wanted to participate in the Oshun Abundance Ritual. And I want to start off with that and open that up so that her energy is, speaking of gatekeepers, but so that her energy will be the gatekeeper of today's conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Because I am understanding, and overstanding on every direction possible. She has made it very clear to me that when you're speaking about topics like this that are generational, you need some sweet water. You need some sweetness. Because it's triggering and it can be really tough as we get into this because it's deep. It's really deep. So I want to start off with that. And then we're going to also talk about your ancestors, right? And your gatekeepers. Like what's next? I've learned about the ancestors. I'm venerating them, but what's next? So we're going to talk about that too. Could you slide the light like to the right a little bit? It's like hitting one side of my head, and I keep looking at myself like, damn, is my shadow self finna show up on live today?
All right.
Y'all
Is that better?
ignore me.
Is that better?
Yeah, that's a lot better. Ain't that better, y'all? I'm like, wow, I look like I got a black eye over here. I ain't been hit. Definitely, you know we don't do that. Unless I'm playing with the ball with the kids, and that could happen.
Or you follow.
Or fall, right? That could happen. Yeah. Thank you, Woman's Loving Life.
Thank you.
Yes. Moderators.
Please. Y'all
We're going to
share.
add some more
I'm good.
moderators too. We know that's something we're supposed to do.
Subscribe and share.
Yes.
Well, thank
So-
you. She does.
Yes. Okay. Awesome.
So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead
Yeah.
and prepare for this.
Now, if you didn't get a chance to add your name, we're going to do this, keep this going the rest of the month. So it's not too late. If you want to be added, you can. The donation is anything with 5 in it because that's Oshun's number. And you can send it to our Cash App, or to our PayPal. And those links can be found, in the bio on our Instagram, in the description of our videos, and also on the website. So it's not too late if you wanna do that, cause I see like somebody else just popped up, and I got my pen in alignment with the colors, you feel me, ink too. Like, I was very specific with this. I wanna hear some good things, you know? Thank you for the donation. May they return to you 36 to 100-fold. And what is that? Is that 7?
Yeah, it's 7.
Oh, yeah, I like that. You know, there's Himiya's number, which is Oshun's sister, so let's keep it in the family.
That's right.
Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and get the candles and stuff going. I'm gonna dress the candles. You all kind of get to see how I do my Oshun rituals. So yeah. I've already cleansed the candles, y'all. I'm just gonna add a little honey. You don't have to do this with yours, but I like to do this with mine just to sweeten it up a little more for her. And you wanna rub the honey on the candle going clockwise. And doing this is to draw the abundance to the person that's doing the ritual, which happens to be me, but I have already petitioned for you guys. And so this will be for you as well. And I also soak the twine in some honey. Now I'm gonna drizzle honey on her offerings, which are the oranges and the pumpkins, as you can see here. If you wanna do this yourself. Hopefully our cat won't be over here eating up our pumpkins. Okay. And then after you have done that, go back with the candles and you're gonna do a little cinnamon. Try not to get it on the wick, okay? Set intentions, speak to the energies that you are working with, and you're also gonna sprinkle the cinnamon on what you are offering, Oshun. I like cinnamon, so you know, I'm gonna give it to her like I like it. Now, this candle over here, it's already been dressed, but just for ritual's sake, I'm gonna do it again. Now, we're gonna light the candles. You could do 5 candles, you could do 1, 3, whatever resonates, but this felt right for me to do these. And so I'm gonna go ahead and get these started. Ashe to Leslie, this is the beautiful candle that she made for us. You can find her on our talk.wealth2me Instagram if you want to get some candles from her. Now, I'm just thinking about abundance. I'm feeling the feeling of abundance as I'm lighting this. And I'm singing the Oshun in my head, too. Y'all don't need to hear all that. That's between us. But you know, do what feels right when you reenact this ritual, because I know that you guys will. I hope so, because that's why we're doing all of this, so that we can teach. Once you have done that, once you have your petition, you don't have to have it in the cornucopia like I'm doing. I'm being a little extra, but you know, you charging people to participate in the ritual, you want to give them their money's worth, you know, their energy worth. So yes, once you have done that, just take a moment and be silent, hold the intention. I like to call her name 5 times. So I'm gonna call her name 5 times. I'm gonna wait till I feel a calmness come over me. When I feel that calmness come over me, that's when I know that I have invoked her energy, that she is present. And then once that is done, that is the end of this part of it. We will also fill this with water so that when we're away for safety reasons, but also sweet water, it's just in alignment. So we will be adding water to that. And that way you have all the elements present on your shrine or your altar. So, Oshun, thank you. Ashe. Oshun, thank you. Ashe. Oshun, thank you. Ashe. Oshun, thank you. Ashe. I feel it already. Ashe. Okay, and that's the end of that. We're gonna keep this going for the rest of the month. These crystals are citrine crystals, so this is like I said, I really went all out and made sure. So yes, if you want to add your name, you can. So sit with us through the show, and yeah, let's get into it. What you do? Flip the camera. Ashe, yes, that's what I'm talking about. So, y'all, first of all, we're gonna go ahead and get into the religious part of this, and I want to share some of my testimony. I was so like such a Jesus freak, you know. I mean, you can look at my YouTube channel when I first started. It's all I talked about. And after I began awakening, I started seeing this issue with black women and men and having good, healthy relationships that weren't toxic. And a lot of these women was some of the like women I looked up to that I would consider praying women, that I would consider these are the people that you call when you're like, look, I really need you to pray for me, you know, and they intercede for you. And a lot of times they speak in tongues, you know, and they just go in, and you just have this feeling like they call down the heavens when they pray, and you know that them type of women, you know, yeah, in the Lord,
The mothers.
like that's what I wanted to be, and it was really hard when I started studying and started realizing about spirit husbands and spirit wives. And I said, okay, wait a minute. So if spirits can sometimes merge themselves with us etherically, right, and are attached to us as their spouse, well, that's the exact same situation I'm in with Jesus. So I started just doing research and just looking into it, and I was just really uncomfortable with what I was learning, that what I had been participating in wasn't what I thought it was. And I was like, no wonder the divorce rate in the church is higher than it is in the world. Like, something is wrong there. Somebody is doing something wrong. So, you know, generation after generation after generation, I would see these strong praying women in these toxic relationships with men. Or I would see these men who have been emasculated so much, you know, with the whole Jesus thing. It was always like issues in marriages that were together in religion. And, you know, so me being a prophet, a lot of things were getting back to me that other couples were going through. And so when I would intercede for them and everything, I just started seeing this common denominator. And I was just like, I want to get free from spirit husband and spirit wives. So that was the beginning for me. And this was like a year before me and Ernest got together that I had been doing this. So when we got together, instantly I was like, you got to do the spirit husband and spirit wife, you know, you have to do that, because you've been up under this thought form that we call Jesus, which was generational, which was white supremacy. They created an egregor to rule over us, and it worked so well that we're still having to come out of it today. If you came through religion, that wound is so deep, I doubt if you're done.
You're not.
You know, and that's okay. But don't feel like because you woke, it's over, because that's not the case.
You gotta deal with it.
Absolutely. So This is what I wrote. This was December 27, 2017, just to show you how long we've been sitting on this information, and deciding if we wanted to share it. So I wrote, getting married, question mark. What is the real reason that Black Christian women are less likely to marry, get divorced, or remain single? Now, at this point, I was in my late 30s. I was still single, had never been married. I was feeling like it's just not gonna happen. The men in the church were either whoremongers who fronted and lied about it, effeminate, had a wife tucked somewhere that they didn't tell you about, or was bisexual or homosexual. I'm gonna be real. A lot of the men that I was attracted to, I would find out was bisexual or homosexual, and they were like the creative men and the men that played music in the church and did this, and I started finding out things from my stripper friends, and I'm like, what? He was at the gay club? Yeah. He was there with his boyfriend. So, it really, really opened my eyes, and I was just like, this is an illusion. This is not what it seems. And so, yeah, I began to just study so that I could get my mind free from that.
So took a whole wife. That's right.
So biblical standards, these are the standards that we had, a lot of us on our list, and still today, if you're single, you still might have some of the Christian residual monotheistic religion standards based on the divine counterpart that you desire. So you want to go back and check that list and see, are some of your standards, just don't even make sense.
Right.
Are they reasonable? So biblical standards are fictitious and weren't upheld by Abraham, Isaac, or Jacob. Let's not talk about David, the whoremongering, murdering man who is after God's own heart. That was so confusing to me.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, he coveted a woman, peeped and tongued her like a damn creep, and kind of seduced her into having sex with him, fornication. Look how many sins in one act. Murdered his faithful soldier who risked his life to protect his kingdom. This is worse than any whoremongering lying man I've known. Love and hip hop ain't got shit on the Old Testament. Number 2, the scapegoat, the Messiah, Jesus, is a pagan God who's married to those who confess a covenant with him. This is when you really start dissecting some of this stuff.
Yeah.
Okay? So accepting him as their groom. Remember, that's what we were all taught.
We the bride.
Even
of
the
Christ.
men.
Yeah, everybody is the bride.
Like, how y'all demonize divine feminine energy, but then have the men call themselves brides to Christ? It's just, it's such just deception. So, we called him our groom. We were married to him. This is a spirit husband. Okay? Now, I shaved. Thank you for the donation. Y'all don't rain on us today. 555. We're gonna add you to the. You want us to add you to the ritual?
May it all come back to you.
Yes, and we'll add you to the ritual too with all the fives. Ashley, remember to add her.
Okay. Thank you.
So, this is exactly what marine spirits do to women and men. They are in an unseen, non-dimensional form, yet they are married to human men and women. This means Jesus is a marine kingdom-like spirit husband to many Christian women. Now, remember, men was in this too, but right now I was just focused on the women. But this is major issues for men as well, which we're going to get into some of that.
Yeah.
So this is blocking all possibilities of a happy, divinely appointed marriage. You must pray a meta prayer. This is how metaphysicians pray, or a combination of meditating and praying, to break this covenant so that you can receive your divine counterpart, which could turn out to be your husband or wife one day. But you want to break this stuff. See, the reason why a lot of y'all are single, or the reason why a lot of y'all are in between relationships, whatever is going on, or it's like a complicated situation, is because you're meant to be delivered and healed and purged of this stuff before you continue sowing seeds into a relationship because it's going to be just messed up from the get-go if you came into it under this thought form and now you awaken to who it is. Now, I know that sometimes you're with somebody and they want to stay where they are. They're more comfortable staying in that realm of dealing with Jesus or whatever it is, Allah. And those are special situations. And yes, of course, you can still stay together and you don't have to believe the same thing. Because you are the higher consciousness of the spiritual counterpart within the relationship, well, then you learn how to hold sacred space for him or her. So y'all can stay together, but they don't have to believe like you believe, because you're seeing things from a higher perspective. And you realize that we don't have to believe the same thing to be together.
Right.
So that may mean you have to do your soul work by yourself. And maybe you can't do rituals together like me and Ernest do. But it's doable. So for those of you who are in relationships, you can still make it work.
Yeah.
Remember, you God and goddess of your own reality. We're taking our narrative back. We're taking back our sovereignty.
Create that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, I'm gonna let you read this one because this is what he did to men.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, whoever that is that's commenting, Yahuwah, yeah, we were Hebrew Israelites for many, many years, and if you're uncomfortable with the content of those videos, which it may resonate with you, check them out. But our evolution has just taken us to a different level of consciousness and our perspective, and we respect everybody's perspective here.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that we can agree on, that a true spiritually minded person is able to allow people to believe as they may.
Yep.
And you don't have to change what other people believe. As long as your relationship is stable and secure, then you're great. But those of us who are here, before you try to save anybody, yeah, we've already been through those things, and so this is where we chose to be. So if you would be respectful to where we have chose to be as a spiritual person that you are, we would appreciate that. If you don't, our moderators may have to block you, okay?
Yeah, and that's just an extension of love to you. That's all it is.
Yeah.
Where we hold no judgment on ourselves
Or anybody.
or anybody else. You know what
Absolutely.
I'm saying? And so, just so you'll know, like she said, that is the level of integrity, and that's how we conduct ourselves and carry ourselves as far as it relates to this channel and beliefs and personal beliefs. We do what we do, and so without going too far off of it, it is what it is.
Yeah, this content may be not be what resonates with you.
Exactly.
So that's cool too. All right.
And so, y'all, there was a point in time where, and we know the story, Jesus, when he called those disciples, he gathered men to follow him, quit their jobs, and travel. This means most likely they left a wife and possibly a child or children behind, or some other individuals that they may have been providing for. This is cruel and considered the behavior of deadbeat dads. Now, many Christian women, including, and this was Cam, she was writing it, including myself, were plagued with a condition that was passed down subconsciously. Because we studied, and because women study men, and vice versa, and because most of the characters in scripture were men, we studied their lifestyles, and we came under a spirit of confusion in which a man has left his families, and you are fully supportive of their decisions to do so by using them as standards and teachers for guidance. You gave consent subconsciously for this type of separation from the family to exist in our own lives. So we need to shut those doctrines down and be set free from the curse. And I just think back on that, and that resonates so much with me in my situation, being married twice. And because it was a pattern that surfaced the second time around, I realized, okay, you know what, it's not the woman. And what's crazy about it, and I you know, some may say it's crazy or not, but we were in the church, you know what I'm saying? Actually, my first wife and I, we were both ministers at the same time. We got ordained actually together. And even the second time I married again, it was also as a Christian in the church. So, when you spoke about divorce rate being high within the church, within the body of Christ, it's crazy, but I'm a statistic. So,
Right.
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, a lot of my friends are.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah. And so we're not speaking this off of we just trying to bash. No, at all.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? This experience.
Absolutely. And another big thing about that is that just shows you how deep the spell work is, the sorcery, the enchantment of the monotheistic religions. Because what happens, let's just say you always knew something wasn't right, but you were forced to go to church, or you were forced to be baptized, or you were forced to take communion, or you went to church on Easter and Christmas. This affected you. Let's say you did none of that, and the generation before you did. This affects you. And so what happens is, in the astral realm, you have a soul contract that's created with an entity that you really know not, because you weren't present when the decisions were made to create this egregor, this thought form, whichever one it is. And so it's perverted. It's perversion disguising itself as purity. And so anything that separates and divides you from yourself, anything that causes a man to tell a woman, you can't tell me no because we're married. You have to have sex with me because the Bible in Corinthians says so. That you are not to withhold your body from me, because if you do, then Satan may creep in. So if I go and slip and fall in somebody else, it ain't on me, Satan did it. That's so terrible. That's teaching a man not to be accountable for what he do. That's teaching a man to blame shift the reason he did what he did on the woman, because she wasn't doing what was told to her to do by God. And even when you get married and go through counseling and you go to the bridal showers and stuff, the wisdom showers, and they tell you that. Well, let me tell you one thing, sometimes you may not feel like it, but you want to be obedient to the Bible. So if he want to have sex, you got to do what you got to do. And that's why so many black women are miserable and in unhappy marriages. That's rape.
Yeah.
That's I do not consent.
Bondage. Yeah, and that's trauma too at the same time.
It's horrible. I could go on and on and on.
That's deep.
Yeah. So basically, Jesus created a lot of deadbeat dads, with making disciples of men. He was making deadbeat dads as well. And there's no way possible. We're just going with the mythology. We're not saying he really existed, because according to great scholars like Dr. Eileen Bay, there has been 14 plus Jesuses in over the time, and so this mythology could go back to Krishna, Buddha. We could get into all of that another time, and we've done that before on some of our older videos. But when we started dissecting the identity of this Jesus character, that's when we got delivered from being Hebrew Israelites. Actually, at that time, we were calling him Yeshua, or and Ahia. This is what we was using. So the God of the Bible is actually an author of confusion. I mean, why would you take a man who took somebody else's wife, got her pregnant, killed her man, right? And then call him the man after God's own heart? What is that programming into our men subconsciously? And subconsciously, what is that programming into our women and us as little girls and little boys when we were listening to this stuff and being taught this stuff and going to Bible study and hearing this stuff regurgitated and having to read these scriptures and learn them, or having to watch the generations before us, our parents and grandparents, be stuck in this stuff? Like, that's a lot of trauma. And to me, if you really look at it, it's just no other way to look at it. It just is what it is.
Yeah,
that's horrible.
Yeah, I mean, then it was forced on us, though. You know what I'm saying? For some, it was forced. And I'll say for all, it was forced, because it's still going on. It's 2020 right now, and I see people running to Jesus. And that,
Yeah.
to me, that's because it's been into our being as a people. You know what I'm saying? If we talking about, if we go back and talk about from the effects of slavery to post traumatic stress and all of that type of stuff, all of that is still underlying.
Exactly.
After the fact of even talking about
Exactly.
a religion that was given to you, you know what I'm saying? We you know that takes it into something else, but definitely.
Yeah, I wrote down all of the scriptures that I could find about rape and things like that.
Yeah.
Even like borderline pedophilia type stuff. It's all in there. And you know, I that was one of the most painful things we had to admit to. Some of the things that we was finding in there was the very thing that we were standing against. You know.
It hurt so.
Yeah.
It's like, what? Oh my God.
So the spirit of confusion, you know, that affected us, and being double-minded makes you unstable in all your ways, right? So how can you discern the best fitting mate for yourself if you can't see these contradictions and denounce them? Okay. The next thing, no man or woman can meet the requirements for a Christian husband or wife based on the Bible. This lie will keep you single because you're looking for someone who is Christ-like, even though Christ wasn't as Christ-like as he seemed to be. Jesus Christ was a liar, a thief, and a murderer and deceptive. Yet you are praying for a man who is holy and righteous, loving and set apart. Doesn't the stuff at the top trickle down? Now, and I say that the murdering part, I know some of you will say, I don't remember Jesus murdering anybody. Well, in the Bible now, Jesus tells his followers, his believers, to bring the non-believers to him that he may slay them. Okay?
It says if they won't accept him and allow him to be Lord over their lives.
Bring them to him so that he can murder them, so that he can slay them. So that's being a murderer, that's being a liar, because you just said you didn't come to condemn nobody, you came to heal, and now you want to slay people for not believing in you. So that's all of that. It's just all wrong, and so it's gonna trickle down subconsciously. That stuff is gonna trickle down and impact the character of the person you're desiring to manifest. If this was Christ-like character, and this same mind is also in the man or the woman who has allowed Christ's mind to exist in them, to be in them, because that's what you had to do. You had to allow Christ's mind to be in you, right? Which is what we would call allowing a spirit to, you know, allowing a spirit to mount you or possess you. Yeah. Okay, that's what this is.
But that's the Holy Spirit.
Well, so it was taught, but it is what it is. So, is it a surprise how much lying, cheating, adultery, and I should have added murder happens constantly in the so-called body of Christ or the church?
Yeah.
I mean, look at what happened with Bishop Eddie Long, and that's just the stuff we didn't heard about, y'all. It's so much that happens. Now, it's not any wonder that you would manifest mates like this. You know, this was very high magic. It was low down, but it was definitely high magic. So is it any wonder why so many children were molested and sexually abused at alarming rates in churches? And this includes Catholicism, which is the father to Christianity.
It's the mother.
So we're not banishing anybody for what they believe or may still believe, or you kind of on fence. We're not judging nobody. We live in a space of non-judgment, but we just calling things like we see them and shedding light so the healing can happen. That was the purpose in us getting into this. So Masterly Foolish channel had posted a video that inspired me, and I ended up getting more like codes about this when I commented, and this was the comment. Thank you for posting this because I've been stuck on this topic lately. Here's a snippet of what light codes I've downloaded. As a black woman with a primordial womb in which all creation was birthed, I had to marry myself to Jesus, and he became my groom. So basically my womb belonged to him because I belonged to him. I agree to only have sex if I was married, but how would I marry someone divinely appointed for me if I am already married to Jesus? Based on the laws in the Bible, if someone married more than one person without a divorce from the other, then I have created sin called adultery. So the soul contract with the thought form Jesus put me in a labyrinth energetically, in which my soul contract with Jesus allowed Jesus to own my womb so that it can be used by him or whoever, so that it can be used for the benefit of the church, however they saw fit. So by them telling a woman that you have to have sex with a man so that the devil don't get a foothold in your relationship, that's abuse to the womb. So your womb space is married to Jesus, and then on top of that, you use your womb space to try to appease your man so that the devil won't creep in. It's mental illness disguised as spirituality. It was the seeds of mental illness. And so a lot of us who went into religion, we are dealing with mental illness. Let's just be real about it, y'all. We got to be honest. We're dealing with mental illness. We're dealing with this conflict inside of us being so divided. So whether you was a single woman trying your best not to have sex, or trying your best to force somebody to marry you so you could have sex and you wouldn't have to keep repenting and paying tithes and giving extra offerings to try to atone for what you've done, you was the woman who was unhappy and being abused. Under the disguise of you being a humble, good wife, being a virtuous woman, a Proverbs 31 woman. So, okay, so now that I realize I'm in this labyrinth, okay, so according to the Bible, the man was also guilty of adultery by marrying him. So if I marry a man, if I would have married Ernest at the time, he would have also been convicted, condemned of being sinful. Because even a man that looks at a woman with lust in his heart has committed adultery. Right? So, since I was already married to Jesus, that's some terrible karma gonna come to Ernest in a subconscious manner. Because you're violating a contract with this thought form. So now Ernest invites dysfunction and the inability to flow between his sacred masculine to even be able to identify what that is.
Well, I was going to say, put a break right there, because all of that is a foreign language. When you are indoctrinated to these effects to this extent, you ain't heard divine masculine.
The very first time I presented that idea to him, I showed him a Till Swan video.
That's like
to give him a breakdown, and he was like, "Wow, I didn't know any of this."
Oh, that's the devil.
Yeah.
That's probably the first thing that would come to your mind. But now go ahead.
So now we're both in a soul contract that kept us in a perpetual state of low vibrations. This is manipulating the karmic wheel. So because he is living in adultery with me and calling it marriage, while we're both supposed to be married to Christ, you see what happens there with that spell work? So whether you believe in karma or not, the laws of the universe and laws of hermetics really do exist. And so this is going to have an impact, whether you believe it or not. You don't have to believe in gravity for it to work.
Exactly.
It's going to create something. There's cause and effect in this universe. So the black woman has the highest rate of attendance.
Do they get the whole soul contract aspect?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, y'all understand when we say soul contracts, right?
Right.
I'm connecting with y'all, and I hear y'all saying, yeah, of course.
Cool. Okay.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
Okay. Awesome.
If y'all don't let us know, we'll stop and go back and address what that is. But it's basically a soul tie.
Come into my heart, Lord.
Yeah.
That was a soul contract.
I have the mind of Christ. So now you done gave me your heart, you done gave me your mind, and you done gave him
actually all
over
of
your reproductive
members,
system.
all of your members,
Belong to
all of
Jesus.
my members belong to him, and so he lived through me.
basically crucified yourself. So
Yes.
you were nothing. You were wretched.
Crucified
The
flesh.
lowest scum. You're nothing but filthy rags, remember? So the black woman has the highest rate of attendance and the most loyalty to a God that they know not, because she is actually the battery to keep that thought form alive. See, y'all have to realize that when the occult members that created Christianity and they were part of the KKK and all of these secret societies and using our ancient knowledge, and then they were reverse engineering it to entrap us. Y'all have to realize they realized the power from experience of a black woman, a melanated woman's womb. And so they knew we need to own the womb space. Make sure they don't learn anything about their womb space. Make sure that they don't learn anything about the fact that there's a portal in between their legs, not just a physical hole, but a black hole connected to the cosmos. We must make sure they never find that out, and we're going to use them as the battery. So can y'all remember, usually in church, it was always mostly women. I mean, 99% of churches I went to, it was mostly women. There were a lot of men. I knew personal relationships with men who refused to go to church because they're like, man, that old lying nigga, he ain't nothing. I'm not gonna be going up in there. Baby, don't say that. He a representative of God. He a child of God. And Pastor so-and-so. And the man like, no, I'm not, You know what I'm saying? So this is causing division in your home right here. Y'all on two totally different pages.
Yep.
So, and we watched our grandparents and parents and stuff be affected by this. So now the church, okay, so if they are the battery to keep the thought form supplied with energy, where attention goes, energy flows. So this is why they mind control us to always direct the attention of people back to Jesus or back to Allah, whatever the monotheistic religion that you came from or had, experiences with. So once black women and melanated women awaken and stop following the rules of the Bible, guess what happens? The church loses its power, which is the plan, to awaken us to a higher level of consciousness. This, I also believe, why black women are key to the uprising from bondage. However, getting a monotheistic, patriarchy worshiping woman to walk away from this prison is next to impossible. Now, I'm gonna tell y'all, and y'all know, nobody could talk me out of what I believed. I believed it so strong, it didn't matter what you said,
right.
It didn't matter how much it made sense, how many facts, research, proof, receipts you had. I would say,
the blood of Jesus.
Yep.
You bind the devil, didn't you?
Yep. And you might get rebuked and get deleted from my phone, and you keep pressing it. You know what I'm saying? Like, for real, I was no tolerance for that. So however,
because you were sold out.
Right, completely sold out. However, look at me and many others. It is possible to awaken and heal from this, and it is happening. The black woman and her powerful womb is also how the black music industry keeps its grip on the black culture of the unawakened. It all goes back to the black womb, y'all. The black hole. So see, this is the reason black men are rewarded for disrespecting the melanated woman in raps, and now even in what used to be love music, rhythm and blues, R&B.
Yep.
If he continues to accept material wealth for talking all kinds of crap about women, he perpetually keeps the abuse and trauma alive that was previously done to us by white slave plantation owners. So they're doing the masses' dirty work, and sadly, most of them don't know. They don't even know how to access new levels of power, that it is accomplished by supporting women and building her up versus tearing her down in your verses.
That's right.
And I said, there is so much more to be revealed, but I've already shared a lot, So basically, this was just channeled to me in that moment. Just like that. Anything you want to add before we go on to the next part of something we can do to help this?
I mean,
it's deep.
That's the reason why, to be spiritual requires you to know yourself, to get to know yourself. Anything, we thought that we were being spiritual, coming from religion. We thought that anything that dealt with God and from the aspect of faith and religion, that you're spiritual. But as we've grown and continued on this journey to come to understand is that it wasn't anything spiritual about it, nah, at all. And so again, the only thing that helps us is to begin to really take a look at ourselves and look at the patterns and the issues that you have. And when you begin to look at the patterns and issues that you have on a personal level, first let the judgment of yourself go, because that's one thing that being a student of the Bible, being a student of Christianity causes you to do. It causes you to hold on to the forms, and you will beat yourself up if it's such a seesaw, you know what I'm saying? Because one moment you're good and then don't mess up. You know what I'm saying? You can feel, you can get heavy on yourself and beat yourself up for sinning, so to speak. But
because that program is still running, so even though a lot of us have gotten free, your conscious mind is free, your unconscious and subconscious still has this virus.
Still,
you know,
like
yeah. So you have to. It's a process. Being able to release that programming like he's talking about, and so his stuff show up a lot of times, and I just have to see him. See his divinity and his divinity, and ignore the identity that he's showing to me in that moment. And we're gonna get into that next. So this is, we're gonna go into the twin flame soulmate segment of this, because a lot of our mission is to share these experiences. Whether you are already reunited or going to be, or no matter where you are, this information is valuable. Because we need to be teaching this to our children, so that we don't pass this crap on. So maybe you can figure out the words.
Oh, okay.
I was typing so fast, you might have to ad-lib. Twin flame soulmate.
Oh, okay.
The 6 pillars.
Okay.
So we're going to share with you a teacher that has helped us, because again, you can do the rituals, you can do your cut and clears, and your cleansing baths or showers, spiritual baths or showers. You can do these things. You can begin reprogramming your mind, taking your sovereignty back, saying I am that I am, I am that I am, over and over again, and invoking your own energy, invoking your own integration with your highest expression. You can do all of those things, and that's great. But you also need some practical tools to use side by side, to not allow these things to dictate the direction of your relationships.
Okay. This has been so helpful for me. I ain't had no game. Like
Steve Urkel had more game than you?
No, hell no. Not Steve. No.
Not quite that bad.
Not quite that bad. It's like coming from I'm a good looking dude, so as an attractive man, you don't always have to have no game. You know what I'm saying? Women will throw themselves at attractive men. You know what I'm saying? But the men that are attractive and have their game, that goes even further. But I said all of that to say, in dealing with a lot of the traumas and dealing with a lot of the issues that I've come to learn about myself, in regards to sexual polarity, in regards to being able to cultivate the type of tension that is necessary between Cam and myself in order for the relationship to kind of just be dynamic as it needs to be. I lack in that area. And so as I'm going through the work and I'm practicing, one of the most I would say transformational teachers that deal with, especially for men, but not only for men, but relationships in general. His name is John Wineland, and Cam always looking for something, you know what I'm saying, to help me level up. And so when she came across John Windland, we checked out his videos, and y'all can search him on YouTube. That's John Windland. It's spelled like wine and then land, Land. But he has a lot of phenomenal video. I mean, we listen to him to this day. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, he's good like that.
And he breaks down the energetics and the impacts of a lot of the indoctrination and just being in this society, the Western society,
Right.
the culture here.
Right.
He breaks down the energetics and he teaches you how to cultivate divine masculine and divine feminine energy, how to move between the polarities, how to consciously, because usually before we were awakened, we experienced relationships and kind of just went with the flow. We didn't know that we had power to direct the current of the relationship. It was like, if you like me and we good, but when it's bad, it's bad.
Right.
And that, nothing was deliberate. There was no deliberate creating within the relationship.
Right.
Okay? It was very unconscious. And so that's another reason why it's difficult for Ernest, because he's having to court me consciously. And he's having to show up as his authentic self without any of the things that he has used his whole life that worked for him. Like, that stuff don't serve him no more, so he's having to find new tools. So this teaching is called the 6 Pillars of Love. And this is going to get into some of the energetics of what me and Ernest have experienced. And so what happens when you come from everything we just talked about, you don't know how to deliberately conduct love and safety as a man through your body, and you don't know how to direct that energy into the woman. Now, this is foreign to most people, but this is what the tantric practice is about.
Right.
Is learning how. It's not just about sex, more so intimacy. Learning how to make love to life. Learning how to be a pillar of love. Learning how to deliberately create the moments that you desire. You don't just wait on them to happen and come and hope they happen. You can create them.
Set them appointments like
Exactly.
Today is going, tonight.
Yeah.
Some shit.
It's so robotic.
Yeah.
And it's so automaton,
You want to be spontaneous. You want it to be natural. Yeah.
So these
You
are
want
some
it
of
to
the
be
challenges.
passionate. Yeah. In order for anything to have any of these aspects, passion, it all has to be organic. You know what I'm saying? It just gotta flow. So, as she was saying, okay, so John Willen explains the 6 pillars of love. He explains exactly sometimes what Cam's saying. He explains sometimes what can't be expressed, what we may not know how to express to one another, but he explains it. And so
this is spiritual intimacy. Okay, how to have spiritual intimacy.
Sometimes Cam expressed to me and have expressed to me that she don't feel safe. When she says that she don't feel safe, that means that I have not grounded myself in her presence to the extent that she's compelled to my masculine. She's attracted to my masculine. He says that the body's ability to conduct more love and genuine empathy it becomes arrested in our development.
Yeah.
If one projects and blame shifts, how can he project love as well? Remember, I told you, going through the shadow work, going through the self work, all kinds of instances and occurrences, outbursts, just spazzing out, getting attitudes. How can I project love when I project those things at times? And so that's where the feeling safe, not feeling safe, comes into place, because I'm an emotional wreck. My nervous system is shot. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes I'm like, oh yeah, baby, it's good, and I can create a moment. And then sometimes I'm like, it's almost repelling. It is. That's what it is. It's repulsive, and so it actually is. It's an energetic force field of you know what I'm saying? It's kind of like I have a barrier around me, and she tries to come into it, and it's almost like touching an electric fence or something. You get a shock, and you just be like, okay, catch you later. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
And so this has been socially engineered and manufactured in our culture.
And so, again, both can't be projected at one time. And once the negative projections pass, energetically, the feeling of being stuck is what you get. And so she's expressed that after one of those episodes, it makes her to not feel herself, and she feels stuck. And it causes her to have to brace herself for the next episode, or the next blame shifting, or the next asshole moment. Now, how to allow him to have those moments and hold on to her trust, for me, has been a major test.
Yeah.
And we can.
That's hard. Because that really tests me so much, because in those moments, like I'm not wanting to retain that energy and be stuck there, but it's just like I gotta brace myself for the next time you go blame shift. So like I can't even relax into a moment, because I'm cringing at the fact that he gonna have another emotional meltdown, and I'm gonna have to deal with that. And so these are some of the things that a lot of people don't think about when they're asking us, like, about their love life. And I'm like, you have to realize whatever level you are in your healing, that is the level of person that you're going to attract. And so what happens is, let's just say you haven't really been doing any of the healing work. Well, that's why a lot of times Ernest have more shadow aspects that come out in our relationship, because he came in behind me doing this soul work. So I talked about that in the beginning. I have to carry the unk, so to speak. And I have to have a level of accountability, and also a level of understanding where I can still treat him with unconditional love, regardless to how he's behaving. Because at the core of who he is, I know who he is. And I know the potential that has been shown to me, and I know that he's reaching for that. Energetically, he's just a mess, because he has dealt with so much of the trauma. And the trauma of the black man is a little bit different from the trauma of the black woman, but it is indeed traumatic. So it shows up. So I'm seeing the collective shadow of black men, and typically, like with the rap music and stuff, all of that, whether it was just that got to you, they made sure that every angle, whether it was movies and entertainment, the black exploitation movies was the beginning of capturing on film black man be disrespectful to the black woman. Like no other race got this as much as we did. I've never seen an Asian exploitation film.
Right. Nope.
I've never seen a Hindu exploitation film. And you have to wonder, like, what is it for those of you who are like, black people like to make it about them. Okay, well, the world has made it about us, and we're just looking into it deeper and saying, what is this really about? What is the truth about this? So when that show up, I have to get in that space. I have to step into my high priestess energy. I have to call on the energy of Oshun. I have to call on the energy of Astarte, of Isis, of Ishtar to help me, of the energy of Yemiya, so that I'm not reacting in a way that's not conducive for his evolution, which is what I signed up for when I got with him, you know? So this is the level of accountability you must have, and the level of integrity you must have, and then your nervous system got to be super. You have to have discipline to be able to do that, and to be able to say, I see you. I don't like what you just said to me. It was hurtful, but I see your wounded self in this moment. Ah, you know, like I don't even want to hear that, and like he just started going off. And I can still hold on to myself and be like, I see wounds. I see a wounded warrior. I see a wounded man. And I have to just remember that those are the wounds showing themselves to me. It's not personal.
Right. Yeah.
Now, in relation to...
And that be humbling right
Yeah.
there. That aspect right there to my men, that is so humbling when you shoot off and you deserving of retaliation, but you don't. And that reminds me of something. It's ironic, but the selflessness. I'll just put it like that. Being selfless in love. That's just an epitome of what that is. You know what I'm saying? You able to show love regardless of how you being treated. You know that again is humbling to me. And that helps me because the whole time I'm still pushing and trying to be better. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to reach my point. You know what I'm saying? And then hurdle over it. And we just sharing along the way.
Yeah.
But you know, it's very humbling. It's very humbling, and it helps her to be more at awe in my eyes.
And the more he surrendered to those moments when he feels humble, because it's going to come through his guilt, it's going to come through his shame and embarrassment. Once he comes down out of the spell that had him reacting instead of responding, because you lose your willpower. When you lose your emotions, when you lose it, you're losing yourself in that moment. You have no power in that moment to control yourself. You're void of the intestinal fortitude to respond the way you desire, and you go into whatever your baseline program is. So whatever coping mechanisms you created from childhood, your inner child wounds, up to the present moment, that's what's going to show up. That's how you fight. That's how you defend yourself. Whether that's deflection, projection, blame shifting, narcissism, passive aggressiveness, you play the victim role. And so being stuck in that savior victim paradigm is a construct of the 3D matrix, and that was the baseline of religion as well. And so what happens, I'll go, and this is borderline personality traits too, but I'll go from being the savior in his eyes to being the villain in his eyes, like quick. It happened real fast. And so for a while, I was like, what is that? How, you know, he was just telling me how thankful he is for me and this, that, and the other. Then like 45 minutes later, you know what I'm saying? I'm not on his team. I'm out to get him. I'm always blaming him for something. He can't do nothing right. These his words now, but he say that it's me. But these are his words. So I'm like, what's happening? And so the borderline personality trait is something that I believe a lot of us deal with too. And this is one of the effects of religion and indoctrination and what happened with entertainment, movies, music, and, you know, rap and all of that, that a lot of us have these mental health imbalances created by the dysfunction, you know? And so the first thing to do is to learn about it and get familiar with it. So the mission that we have been given is to resurrect relationships in the melanated community to 5D consciousness and up. And so when a lot of stuff was happening with Steve Harvey, with Mayweather, like their daughters, that really spoke to me as to the spiritual undercurrent. And at the time I was working with Yemiya and Isis, and she was telling me, giving me some little tips about what's happening energetically. And this is what she imposed upon me. Dear black men, melanated man, brown man, whichever one you are, whoever you are, if it resonates, it resonates. But pay attention to the things that Mayweather and Steve Harvey are going through. I said that family because it was like fathers and daughters dealing with stuff, and them being with bad boys, and the dad is not wanting them to be with these bad boys. So I said, pay attention to what they're going through. Your past abusive, narcissistic, low down ways of treating women that deserve respect but didn't receive it will resurface in your children, especially your daughters. The things you refuse to apologize for doing will resurface in the life of your children. If you know you haven't been honorable to your children's mother, it might be a good idea to be real with yourself and face the situation the best way possible.
Yep.
For some men, it's prayer, asking forgiveness, and if you're awakened soul, cord cutting meditations, and then you must take inspired action to sign, seal, and deliver your apology. Your daughter may bring a person with similar attributes as her boyfriend, and before you know it, she's going through the same shit you took your past lovers through. If you're still carrying on like this, the best time to right your wrongs is now. And that video, hardly anybody liked it, hardly anybody watched it. I felt like it was really deep, and I'm not gonna say hardly anybody, but I didn't get the response that I was expecting and hoping to get. But I know that that's a tough truth to receive for a lot of people. And that's a level of accountability that a lot of men not really ready to face because they know that how dirty they've been to women. So to face the fact that now you've created situations, these karmic situations, these cycles in your children's lives, like that's, It takes a real man to be able to say, you know what, I'm accountable. Yeah, I need to do something about it.
Right. Yeah. So what psychological weapons were used to create the dysfunction among the black man and woman? Religion. By giving us Judaism, Islam, and Christianity, which includes Hebrew Israelites, they replaced the creation blueprint. They took away a female goddess of creation and gave us a male god, which was shown to us as a white man subconsciously, removed adoration for the goddess and created reverence for a white male god. Religions much older than these three, such as Kemet and Sumerian, depicted the creator as a black woman. Then they took away the Ankh, which is still considered demonic to many black people today, and replaced it with a cross that only had the phallus. The black womb and the black family was actually destroyed by the religion and the Bible, which we thought was the instruction manual to build a strong family foundation. I know many people will disagree, but that proves how deep this programming has been in the black community. You got a revelation?
Yeah, you can skip that part.
Okay.
But I just talked about the cross. You can say the rest of that because I didn't have that added in here. I guess you just went in another note and pulled it up. But we can save it and do a part two. Yeah. Don't scroll up. I don't have it in here. Scroll all the way up. That's December. That's the note that I used to construct this note. So, but that's good because we can pick up there because it's still a lot of information. We can do a part two. So just pin it.
I got you.
So you can go back and we can do the rest of that.
Okay.
So now that he shared some more light codes about this, what can we do to heal from this? Like, what can we do spiritually to deal with the things that we are learning and to protect ourselves as well? So this was an article at whichuniversity.com, if I'm not mistaken. We will put all of the links to these sources that we are using in the description, and we will also add them on the blog. We're going to create a blog about tonight's show, and we'll have links available there. Okay? So, this is what she said. She said, because of my views on this matter, this is speaking about the effects of religion long term and multi generationally, I consider it more sound for those in recovery from big religion or cultural upheaval to build their new systems the way the original people did by deifying honored ancestors and heroes, rather than to start with appropriating deities from other cultures. Unlike some others, I don't see cultural appropriation as 100% wrong. It is normal for humans. It's just that there's a respectful way that leads to mutual growth and cooperation. And there's a disrespectful way that leads to exploitation and further distance. Technically, within the illusion of division, your ancestors would be interceding for you and the deity force of nature, the archetype, but that illusion breaks once they are dead. It was only their flesh that made them seem distinct from any force they exemplified in human form. This is part of a useful illusion to keep us functioning and sustaining life, but it has its limits. It is a layer of reality that is need based, but not the whole picture. As witches, we need to be useful. So getting wrapped up in this particular technicality would distract us from the greater reality. Since we are incapable of truly relating to a non-human force of nature as long as we are living, we personify them to help us to work with them in spite of being unable to really experience what it is to be them beyond our senses. So if you are building your pantheon from scratch, your ancestors are your best option. So she's saying after you have awakened and discovered some of these things, you want to start creating your pantheon. You want to create your own system of the spiritual practices that you implement. But ancestors are always first line of spiritual defense. Okay? So even though some of them may have been tied up in some of these things, now they have a higher perspective. They have they have a higher perspective. So you would be surprised. Sometimes in readings, I do have ancestors that show up and they're still very much in the programming of their beliefs, religious beliefs. I have had that happen. I've also had ancestors show up in readings who were like, yeah, you know, when I transitioned, I was a Christian, I was a Baptist, but I'm proud of my daughter or my son or my granddaughter or grandson that they're finding their own way. And there was some things that wasn't taught to me right, and now that I've crossed over, I see that. So let them know that I support them and that I'm watching over them. I've had that energy. I've had an ancestor come through and was like, I don't want nothing to do with it. That's of the devil. And I have to respect that. So you kind of just got to listen to your intuition when it comes to creating your own pantheon. But again, ancestors are the first line of defense. We're just addressing what could be the next step that you take in your spiritual journey and protecting yourself and building a new legacy where we're not under these spells that we've been put in. So it says the truth that many don't seem to want to discuss, though, that no matter which pantheon you operate under, you are most likely just worshiping more distant ancestors. Okay? And I really believe that. So some, such as Offset and a fair proportion of Orishas, such as Shango and Oshun, have legends that explicitly spell out that they were human at some point. I have a theory that the idea of Jesus came about because a religious sect understood that they needed an ancestor to stay relevant. It worked as far as getting the numbers. The saints are like bonus ancestors. So when you see, you know, Saint Expedite and Saint Peter and, you know, that they created a pantheon, basically, in the religious system. So finding your gatekeeper. You would pick up on finding your gatekeeper, you got it. Okay.
If you know where your people are, start with your ancestral gatekeeper. This is the deity who stands at the gate between heaven and earth.
And this is usually a grandparent from our personal experience. This is usually a grandparent. But it could be different, but typically that's what we have experienced.
Even if you've had dreams or visions of deities from other cultures, start with your own if you know it. If you don't know where your people are from, then go by local tradition, the ways of your teacher or field or revelation. Basically, choose the gatekeeper closest to you. If you don't like any of those options, then go materialist and physically go to a crossroads, corner, in between place, or water's edge, and let your physically local gatekeeper tell you their name or names. Go to the place with 4 varieties of consumables. The most common local meat prepared in a way that is not too fancy, but both sweet and spicy. This is usually going to be some kind of poultry or fish. Tobacco or other good smoking herbs. Liquor or very good coffee prepared black and sweet. And then a 4th, candy or sweet cakes with little or no formality but much respect. Lay these things out nicely as if you were serving a small picnic. Use biodegradable or salvageable plates and cups or glasses. Ask the gatekeeper to give you a term or name by which to call them. Don't be surprised if this is just gatekeeper, sentinel, or guardian in your or some other language. If you were raised in an Abrahamic faith, they might even give you the name of an angel. Just sit and breathe until some sign or name comes to you. Later in your practice, even if you know who your ancestral gatekeeper is, you will still learn to align with your allied and local ones. If you do have to build your pantheon from scratch, you may later incorporate other deities, perhaps from different cultures, but at the beginning, stick to gatekeeper and ancestors.
So, you can go to the crossroads and give an offering and ask your gatekeeper to make themselves known to you. You have to be able to trust your intuition, You just listen to the first thought that comes to you and trust what the voice is speaking to you. We have done this, and this is something that we will revisit. We believe that these are things that you can revisit. And we're going to make this available to you as well in the blog. So be sure to like it, y'all, and comment. And, if you're going to do it, or if you've done it, come back and comment and let us know how it went, because connecting with our ancestors and the gatekeepers is very important. For us, one of our gatekeepers is our grandfathers, for both of us. So he had a personal experience, and I did too. So yes, it may be that for you. But we just wanted to give you a little bit more than just ancestor altar, because that's like all people have been talking about. So for a whole year, really 2 years, we just worked with ancestors before we started working with energies and deities and netters and orishas. And so it's nice to find out that that actually was in alignment with, the best way to approach. So what's next? We're getting ready to wrap it up, y'all. Let's see. It's 9:10. Okay, so we'll put the rest of the information about the ancestors and building your pantheon. We're going to make that all available to you on the site so that we don't go over too much. Did anybody have any questions before we got a few more minutes, and we can take some questions if y'all got some questions. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, y'all. We appreciate y'all. It's 31 people in here. We got 37 likes. I like you. That's great. I hope y'all enjoyed the show tonight. I know it was that's why we wanted to have Oshun in the space, because it's a little heavy when you get into some of these topics.
Yeah.
Let me know some questions come up.
Okay.
And while y'all are coming up with your questions, if you got one or whatever, I wanted to say another thing. A lot of us can't trace our ancestry. That's okay too. I had ancestors come to me in a meditation, so you could do it that way as well. What?
Leslie asked the question, what about working with ancestors who committed suicide?
Yeah, that's an interesting one because it really just depends on how that energy feels. Sometimes people who committed suicide can have a more chaotic energy. So we don't use people who committed suicide just because we don't know what state of mind they may still be in. And so unless you're a practitioner of necromancy or you know it well enough to be able to do that, it would probably be a good idea to have a cycle pump that you create, which is kind of like creating a servitor. If you want to get into being able to connect, communicate with those who have transitioned but taken their own lives, there will probably be some more measures that you would want to take to make sure that you are protected, and that you're not inviting some chaos into your life.
A Dream of Black Queen says, what are some starter practices to help your spouse in their awakening? What are some starter practices to help your spouse in their awakening? Like, are they at ground zero?
Right.
Yeah, like where would you say they are? Are they the type of individuals that already had a system of some type of routine, whether they prayed, meditated, you know?
Yeah, so typically some of the first things you want to do, we have a lot of videos talking about this, but you want to get to know your higher self. You want to do self-love work before you do shadow work, okay? Because the shadow work is going to be hard if you have not been filling yourself up with love and learning how to turn that love within. So that would be the first thing. I would say introduce them to lonawolf.com. They have some really good quizzes on there that you can take. They have some expert articles written about religion. That would be a good place to start to identify where you are in your spiritual awakening, what symptoms are you having, and tools that you can use to help you with that. So that's what I would recommend for anybody who is dealing with somebody who is just not awakening. We're going to make sure that we make the potions available, y'all, on the site. We have the abundance potion, we have the third eye potion, we also have the root chakra potion, and very soon I'm going to be releasing another root chakra potion that's going to be more on the expensive end, so it's going to be more like a luxury potion that I'm going to create for healing the root chakra, and this was something that was given to me by my guides and my goddesses, and so I'll probably wait till the end of this month before I do that. It's not gonna be like one potion is gonna work better than the other. It's just using different elements that I put in it, and so that affects the price of it. But I wanted to create something that would meet everybody where they are. And so, so you're working with the root chakra potion, that's great. But there will be another one that comes out that's gonna be slightly more expensive. And so, yeah, it's just a matter of me catering to people wherever they are. And then the crystals and the jewelry that Ernest does is available. We got merch available on there. The Wink If You Woke hoodies. It's getting cold outside. Y'all might want to go ahead and get you some hoodies. We got that on there. And then those of you who wanted to be added to the ritual for Oshun and Abundance, we will be doing this for the rest of this month. It's not too late. Just send your donation to PayPal or Cash App. Again, we will make sure we put that in the description. So when we, after this, head to the website, we're gonna go ahead right now. Now, sometimes there are some words that may be out of place or something. So give us a minute to kind of get that together, because we still have to do all of our other stuff and our other jobs and other positions. But we're gonna make sure that we take the portion about the ancestors and the gatekeepers, and we're gonna put that in there first, so we can get that to you as soon as possible, so that y'all can complete the study that we presented to you. I'm gonna give you the source so you can go and do your own research. And then we will come back later and if there is something that needs to be added. But for the religion portion, I pretty much added all of that to the community tab on YouTube. So you can go there and you can read that if you would like to just keep it for your notes or whatever, screenshot it and save it, and begin creating your own things that you have realized for, since you've awakened. Is that everything?
Yeah, you pretty much touched on everything.
Yeah.
We're making some modifications to the site for the better, and so y'all just be patient with us on that as we get everything to running smooth. I know we had hit some little kinks here and there in regards to trying to set up readings and things like that, and so we getting all of that ironed out. So you'll definitely be able to use that service.
Absolutely.
Chosen.
Yeah.
You preaching?
Okay.
He preaching.
Yeah, Chosen. We addressed that already, Chosen. We got other videos from when we were Christians and Hebrew Israelites. That might resonate with you more, but this path is not for everybody.
Giving
So
heed
be
to
respectful to how everybody
spirits
feels.
and
I know as a
doctrines
Christian,
of
I was really
devils.
passionate about saving other people and pulling them from the fire and things like that.
First
So
Timothy.
we definitely understand where you are, but we have just studied past that point.
Yeah.
So if you would just be respectful, because we welcome all perspectives and views here.
Yeah.
Okay, y'all, so this is the end of the show. Thank y'all for joining us and supporting us. We want y'all to interact with us. Every month, we're gonna be
Hold on.
announcing a winner and things like that. So we wanna keep the interaction going. So we're gonna go ahead and get this ready, get this on the site. Peace to you. Have a great week. Make the week be what you want it to be.
Yes.
Humble yourself, let go of the ego and all of the stuff that we use, like sinking your heart. I know it's a scary thing to do, it's a scary place, but trust me, the heart is where the power is. You are not living in power if you're not living in your heart.
Yes.
And so, yes, there's gonna be some pain, and it's gonna be some situations that happen that don't feel good, but that's a part of this thing called life, is being able to feel. We wanna come out of the numbness and the arrested development that we talked about today.
Yes.
All right?
Yeah. Oh. And so we'll end it on that note.
Yeah.
And as we always say, man, your third eye has just been kissed. Peace.